Hi and welcome to the next episode of Sheffield Steel, where we talk to the business owners that have pushed through lockdown. Today it's a great pleasure to have Clare Froggatt on from Brew. Absolutely bloody love that name. Clare, welcome to the show.
Thanks. It's a pleasure to be with you, John. You've interviewed some really interesting people before, so hopefully I can share some positive and interesting things with the people that are interested in what you're doing so far and carrying that on. It's a bit of a challenge.
No doubt you will, Clare. We're really looking forward to hearing your story. So, look, without further ado, tell us a little bit about who you are and what your business does.
My name's Clare. I'm Sheffield born and bred. I'm a true Yorkshire lass, which is where the company name comes from, because I don't think any meeting or business or friend-based, somebody walks through your door, the first thing you do is offer them the kettle on, and Make a Brew just popped up when I was brainstorming business ideas, because I didn't want it to be called my name. I've had a couple of businesses before, so I've kind of had other genius ideas, if you like, and Make a Brew just popped up, and I liked it. It sort of embodies my friendly approach, the sort of down to earth and warm. It's a very northern thing. My why is all about helping people, and I'm a fixer. I like to fix and solve problems. So that's something I've become more clear about recently, but I mainly focus on building brands. So I help people who haven't got a strategy to promote and create their brand, or if they haven't got a brand, it's about helping them create an identity that fits with them, that can grow into a brand. Or the bigger clients, I can polish and tweak and recreate and develop them onto the next level. So it's everything to do with branding and how you can present and promote, and most importantly, reach out and make an impact with your clients and your target market. So effectively, I work through my client, because my client is your client in effect. It's about attracting your audience to what you do, and I absolutely love it. It's not work. I absolutely love what I do. So I'm really lucky that I found something that I enjoy, but equally that I can work digitally. So how the country's had to respond in the past 3 months has not affected me massively. It could have, but I've not really had to adapt much, because what I do is digital anyway, and have laptop, can work from anywhere.
Your passion really comes through when you talk as well. It really comes through the passion that you have for what you do. So obviously these are the lockdown interviews. So this is talking to people that haven't shied away during lockdown. You've been really busy. We've seen lots of stuff on social media from Make a Brew. So I suppose the first question to ask you is, at what point in time did you know that there was going to be an issue commercially? We all knew that there was going to be a health issue, but what time did you know?
I think, to be honest, that I was really grateful for being a part of your Action Club. It's been very planning focused, and talk about pretty tight and belt wise, where could we carry on spending and where should we carry on spending to keep business moving. So that resonated with me anyway, because I'm always very positive. It's about what can I do rather than what can't I do. So I think I felt very early on in March that there was going to be some commercial effects, because I've looked to the news and things very sporadically, because I find the news, it saps my energy, the news, because it's always, you might as well call it bad news. The same with social media. Everybody has an opinion. It can so drag you down, and you just need to dip in and dip out of your choosing and where you can manage it. So effectively in March, before the 23rd it was, we got locked down, I think. I spent most of March being a financial director, if you like. Not one of my strong areas in the business, but I was quite impressed with the way that I thought and what I managed to do. Part of that's down to experience and things that I've done before. Part of that, put the pride in your back pocket and just say, excuse me, I think there's going to be trouble for the next 3 months at least. What can you do to help me?
And as a Yorkshire lad, we got plenty of pride. Plenty of pride.
Yeah. If you don't ask, you don't get. What's the worst that can happen? They say no. Then you know what problem you've got. You know what you've got to fix. There's always going to be problems there. It's part of business. It's part of life. It's how you look at them and go, right, there's a problem there. What is it? How can I tackle it? Is there a different way of looking at it? Who can I ask for help? Let's spin it in every direction and just let's take it apart piece by piece. Thankfully, I didn't face many in that circumstance, because a lot of the financial institutions, and I think we're geared up. I asked my business bank, NatWest, for an overdraft pretty soon, thinking I don't need it, but it's there as long. If money doesn't come in as fast as I can turn work out, or there's a delay in payment, at least I know my bills and my payment outgoings are going to be covered. Well, so far I've not needed to touch that overdraft, so I'm really pleased that I had the foresight to do that. And also the tenacity when the cheeky buggers charged me 150 quid for setting it up. And I went, oh, I thought you were trying to help businesses. You said you weren't going to charge it me. But, you know, it took nearly 2 months to get that £150 back in my account they took.
I bet it
So, yeah, there's the teeth in the Yorkshire Tiger. I went back and said, you said you weren't charging me that. Why have you? But, yeah, so I think early March is when I thought there'd be some commercial effect. I didn't honestly think it would be as big as it is across all industries that it's touched. And I know there's many industries that have been impacted more than others, such as leisure and tourism.
Yeah, leisure and tourism, I would suggest more than any, and it's not going to end in the short term for that industry.
No, I don't think it's going to be short term, but I think that if people can change the way they deliver what they're doing at all, or add other services, or work together. I know for a fact when, for example, when the pub's open again, I'm not drinking at the minute. I'm on a bit of work on me and try and shift a few of these extra COVID pounds that have attached themselves to me. So I'm not drinking anything at the minute, but I think my money's going to be over local and independent bars. I'm not going to spend time queuing in Starbucks and Costa Coffee queues. I'm going to go to a local cafe and put my money there if I need to go spend it. And I think if everybody spreads the money that they're going to spend around a little bit, then we pull together, we'll all be all right the other side. And I know that's something that you've spoke about in the coaching and things that you've helped us all with. It's about what can I do? Who else can I help? Who can I drag along with me? Somebody might be having a down day or feeling a bit fed up. What can I do to help? Because I might need it tomorrow or the next day.
We all need a bit of help from time to time, that is for sure. So you realised early March that there was going to be, we all knew there was going to be a health issue, but it became very apparent early March that there was going to be an impact on small business more than any. You know, larger businesses, you see the grocers, the Asdas, the Walmarts, the Tesco's have fiscally improved during this period, but more of the smaller retailers have definitely taken it the hardest. So how have you adapted? What have you done differently during lockdown?
I think what my business already runs digitally. I can work from anywhere, as I've already said. I did put some workshops on. I was going to be running 2 half-day workshops on to help small businesses, build their brand and understand strategy and understand the importance of knowing who the customers are and how they can communicate with them. I pulled those from being physical, face-to-face events fairly early on and set them up to be digital. Advertise them on Eventbrite through. I paid for some strategic advice, particularly on events, because you can't know everything. That proved really frugal because it was a good idea to take the event digital. It made it a lot more. It would have been a lot more profitable than running it in person because you're not paid for venues, etc., etc. So I think I'd got you need to think about doing things online early on, and using Eventbrite as a tool rather than just your standard social media platforms. And I think the main thing was to trust that people would still be spending money and business would still happen, and not panic that it's going to stop, everything's going to stop. I wish I'd had time over the last 3 months to work on my business because I've been so busy. I haven't, which is fantastic in one sense. I think the main thing, my adaptations were the mindset, to trust that it was going to be all right, just to think differently and think a little bit more broadly rather than what I was going to do. So how else can I do something? Offer to help. I mean, a couple of clients I've offered to suspend their payments to me to try and help them, or I've created sort of more spread payment terms. I always do deposit, but I've got a couple of clients that are paying me, say, a fee over a 4 or 5 month period. So they're still spending with me. It's just in a smaller bite size for them. That's not all clients. But the Eventbrite one was great because I think what it did, that's the avenue that found me the Canadian client that I've got. And albeit I was positive, I thought I was going to build my expertise, if you like, and my client base in Yorkshire and the north of England.
Yeah, and we'll get on to that now. So I know you're a Yorkshire lass, and you wanted to focus most of your business on sort of local independent sort of organisations for you to help with your advice and your branding expertise. But talk to us about some of the wins that you've seen. You've obviously, what you've just gone through is you've digitised the business. So like I've already mentioned a bit earlier on, you've been a really big presence on social media. I'm seeing something every single day from you, and you're getting high levels of engagement as well. So talk to us about some of the wins that you've seen because of that shift that you've had.
Yeah, I think I'd got plans to set up 2 workshops. They were in-person workshops. They were in Sheffield. I thought I was going to attract a local market target audience of being South Yorkshire and the North Midlands. I pulled those events quite soon and made them digital. I changed them being from half day to a couple of hours over split weeks. I split them down a bit further. The idea was to digitise resources and things like that. So I used Eventbrite to promote them. They went down really well, something that I'll probably run again, but I've kind of shifted the way that I'm going to do it. Not fully worked out how yet, but the process of taking an in-person event and broadening my mindset from a geographic area where I could get to personally, physically, where I could drive to, what made sense fuel-wise and time-wise, putting something on Eventbrite and using social media more. I've got clients at the opposite ends of the UK, in Scotland and London, one in Derby in the Midlands and one in Cumbria in the north of England. And I've actually cemented, and I've got a really strong relationship going with a Canadian client who I'm on my 2nd piece of work for now. She's very pleased with the work that I've done and trusts my opinion and judgment really, really well. We've made a brilliant bond digitally. We speak probably a couple of times a week through Zoom, managing a 5-hour time difference, so it's not too bad to work with. And she's already speaking to other people about my work and what I do. So by having to work purely digitally rather than you try and do everything normally, it's absolutely smashed the glass ceiling on where I thought I could offer my services and help people, that they can be anywhere in the world, as long as they can ideally speak English and I guess understand Yorkshire.
Yeah, I mean that is the biggest issue that you have when you get somebody in Scotland and somebody in Yorkshire. You normally need a translator in the middle. So it's been really great to see, because you've been very localised and you've been very vocal in networking groups up until sort of lockdown, and it's great to see that you've gone from that localised business to having that epiphany, that strategy review where you can go online and you can get customers in Cumbria, Scotland, let me get this right, Cumbria, Scotland, London, Derby, Sheffield, obviously, and Canada. Love that. So we are coming towards the end of lockdown. It's not going to be over next week, but in the next month or so, we're definitely going to start to see some easing of more people moving around and more businesses opening. With that in mind, what things that you've changed are you going to keep on doing post-lockdown?
I definitely think Zoom as a tool is going to be a big part of my business, because I don't have to be in all those places physically to affect the outcome of a project or to be able to help somebody. In fact, it makes me more available because I don't have to juggle the time as much. I'm so busy what I'm doing, what I love. I'm actually outsourcing more, actually the admin side of things. I've just got somebody at the minute looking on how I can integrate Zapier as a tool to tie things together. So if I input something in one place in my HubSpot CRM, it automatically populates my QuickBooks to send a deposit invoice. It puts it in my calendar for a deadline and chucks it in my Trello that I use for project management, because there's only me doing most of the work. I do work with specialist freelancers on bigger projects and things when needed, but it's made me think about how I can save time and those time efficiencies to let me help the people I want to help, because that's what drives me. It's the fixing, the solving the problems. Great that it can afford me a living, but it's not the finance that drives me. It's the fact that I'm able to affect people now in such a wide area, and who's to say it's not going to get even wider when we come out of lockdown. I can't wait to get back to some in-person meetings, because I do find them helpful and beneficial, and I do like them. Personally, I'm probably going to stay away from lots of things until probably the back end of the summer. I'm a type 1 diabetic, so I have to consider my health. Thankfully, so far, I've managed to stay healthy throughout the COVID outbreak. I want to support local businesses and small businesses, if that can be offering help and advice, or spending my money with them, like getting delivery services, or wearing. I've got a couple of face masks now. I've got a Wonder Woman one and one with penguins on that matches one of my shirts, so we can carry on the funky sort of personal brand that I have whilst being safe. But I'm in no rush to get back into places. I certainly won't be standing following some labyrinth queue in the IKEA car park anytime soon.
Absolutely.
I'll continue to use things like Amazon and eBay for smaller businesses that are operating online. And I think staying positive, being cautious, not thinking I can't spend money and I'm not going to do things. I think I've just picked another load of parcels up from down the road. I've invested a lot in books and reading and learning, because I read to relax. I do a lot of audiobooks and things like that. So I think that's going to continue. But also, I think there's also going to be other ideas and things that come in that I've not even thought of yet. There's people doing some great things about how they're going to get back to work and what they're going to do to help the staff. My friend Dana, who I helped create her Forged in Food brand, and we bounce ideas off each other. We help each other, in fact. She was struggling with how to get her fruits out there. So because I'm on a bit of a health kick personally at the minute, I said, well, why don't you get the fruits out there again and offer them to companies? And why don't you put a positive message on it? Because there's a lot of people who are going to be either worried about coming back out from home into the workplace, or maybe struggling mental health wise. And I said, like my positivity quotes, something might resonate. And she sent me some pictures the other day. She's actually put some, I think one's Be Kind, and she's done a picture of a bee. So she's put her own creativity stamp on it. And
Love that.
so she's putting her positive message on fruits, because she can brand them for companies as well. So if companies want to help people be more healthier, because there's been a few social media memes out there about if you don't come out of COVID lockdown an alcoholic and a stone and a half heavier and looking like you've been dragged through a hedge backwards, then you've not done it properly. So there's going to be quite a few people who might need a little bit of healthy and well-being support out there.
I think I can tick all those boxes. I
I could tick quite a few of them. Yeah, thankfully I have short hair and it looks a mess anyway. So the dragged through a hedge looks quite all right for me. I've got a handy other half who is actually a dog groomer, but she turned her hand to keeping my hair in check. So that was that was lucky. And like I say, yeah, I recognised a few weeks ago that maybe the lagers and the barbecues had a little bit of extra padding around the middle, so I'm already addressing that. But
I think one of the things that he has addressed is that look, we only live once. That is important. From my side of the desk, I've really seen small business come together, and if there's anything to take from it, it's that camaraderie and spirit that you get from the SME sector, which no other sector has. You don't get in the corporate world. It's that quick thinking. Maybe it's the ability to take action quickly. There's not much red tape in small business. If you have an idea, you can sort of think of it in the morning and action it in the afternoon. It doesn't need to go through policies and procedures to make sure that it's right. I've seen a lot of camaraderie and a lot of team spirit with localized small businesses, and that's been really great to see. From my perspective, I've actually quite enjoyed the lockdown experience. If I look back, I think I became a I hope you understand what I mean when I say it, a little bit fat around the waist, not in regards to my weight, but in regards to the things that I took for granted.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
you have everything at your disposal that you can take advantage of at any second. And I think what this has highlighted to me is how privileged we are now as a society to be able to just have whatever we want whenever we want it. So look, staying on that, what would you say what have you learned about yourself during this time?
I've learned probably that my mindset is pretty much made of Sheffield steel like me. I thought it was thereabouts sometimes and not others, but it's been quite consistent for 3 months now, and thankfully it's positive, and I'm really happy. I think my energy and my vibration level, if you're into that kind of fluffy stuff, I call it, but I think that's what's brought the work in, and that's what's brought the success, because my energy levels have been up there. So the mindset and how resourceful I can be when outside influences are impacting, I think I've learned that about myself, because usually it's not the whole world that's experiencing the same problems that you've got at that one point in time. Albeit we've all experienced things in a different way because of the current situation and how it's going to evolve, and we don't yet know whether there's going to be a second wave of it or not. But I think if we all do stick together, and like you, I think you've been a driver of it. To be honest, I'm really grateful that I'm part of your Growth Club community. You've held a lot of businesses together like that, and there's that culture within the group that you've got. But I have seen it outside of that, so it pleases me that that SME market does think like that. And if only some of the bigger companies could take a little advice from the SME market and either operate more leanly or more flexibly, I think it'll cause some longer term change. I think there's been a bit of I'm going to call it an industrial revolution, but I mean a business revolution. A lot of bigger companies, I think, are going to have more people working at home. Health and well-being's already been becoming a bigger part of business, but I think it's going to be part of an institutional and knitted into a lot of big businesses, and a lot of smaller businesses are going to pay attention to it. And I think mental health is part of general well-being as well as the physical health. So I think they're going to be the bigger changes, and it's certainly where my attention is now, is on my health and well-being, because it's great if you've got a positive mindset, but if your body's not going to carry on with it, then there's not much point having a healthy mind, because your body's give up on you. So I think they're the main things I've taken out of it. It's my beliefs are the thing that hold me back. Well, they're not anymore, because I've got the evidence of it. I've managed to break that ceiling, and then thankfully recognise it and be mindful of it. I'm extremely grateful for it.
Yeah, I think it might be a Jim Rohn quote, and he says, "You are what you think," and you know, your actions are a direct correlation to the thoughts that you have. So he might have said something like, "If you're thinking, stinking," or something like that in a Jim Rohn kind of way. But it's so true that if you get this in gear, your body's got to follow. Your body has got to follow. And I think that's really come out from you, is that positive self-image is one. Positive direction in regards to where you want to go and how you want to get there. And I would say that Yorkshire determination that also pulls you through as well. So Claire, thanks ever so much for being on this episode of Sheffield Steel. I'm sure there's loads of great takeaways for people to take from that. And I look forward to seeing you post-lockdown at the next event that I run.
Can't wait. Back to Bramall Lane.
Back to Bramall Lane. Thanks, Claire. See you on the other side.
Thanks, John. Cheers. Take care.